Should the Panthers make keeping Ejiro Evero, their defensive coordinator, despite who they name as their next head coach, a priority? Should they make it a priority in discussions with potential head coaches? This has become a thing. ESPN is reporting on it. I've seen multiple journalists asking the question, some even advocating for it. I'm going to put my answer succinctly. No. They should not. Evero has done a very good job, right? Okay, let's get that out of the way. And I see the logic in wanting to keep him around with an offensive-minded head coach. Everything we've heard is they want an offensive-minded head coach, somebody they can pair with Bryce Young to grow old together. So if they bring in that offensive-minded head coach, why in the world would I be against keeping a good defensive coordinator that did a good job this year running a defense for the Panthers? It's a fantastic question. I will answer it. Because it would be missing the point of what went wrong this season. It would be completely missing the point of what's gone wrong with the Panthers since David Tepper's taken over. If there is one thing that should be learned from this year, it's that you need better relationships between everyone in the building. You know all the rumored backstabbing that took place? There's that great article in The Athletic about assistant coaches going to the owner, about maybe the head coach and the GM and the owner maybe not all being on the same page on which quarterback to draft. You know all of these rumors about all of the backstabbing and the Game of Thrones level, like if I take him out, I could be on the throne. If that's all a relationship thing. It's just as bad that people were going to Tepper about Frank Reich. Like, it's bad for the people that were doing that end around, but it's also bad for David Tepper that they felt they could. That they could go to Tepper and he wouldn't immediately tell Reich. It's bad when assistant coaches and head coaches and GMs and quarterbacks and owners are not having such open and free conversation because they like each other, trust each other, and respect each other's prowess at their job. It's a problem when there's all those disconnects. Remember the all-star coaching staff thing? I fell for it. Many of us did. Right? They went and got this assistant from the Detroit Lions. They went and got that assistant from retirement, Jim Caldwell. They got Josh McCown from whatever he was doing. They assembled this all-star coaching staff. That didn't work. Do you know why? Because they were all very accomplished, all very smart football minds, all very experienced. They came with like 200 years of NFL coaching experience, but they didn't all come from the same place. They didn't all understand each other. You need to fully trust, and you need everyone to be on the same page.
It was a faction just thrown together.
It was just, yeah, exactly. It was a super team, right? Like you always hear in the NFL, whoever wins the offseason, super team. We got all the best free agents. We got all the best trade acquisitions. And you're like, wait a second, we forgot to teach them how to play football together. You might have the best running backs coach in the league, the best this in the league, the best that coach in the league, the best offensive analyst in the league. But if they don't know how to coach together and trust each other, it's going to be a problem. So now you're going to take your next head coach, and the first thing you're going to do is say, we'd really like you to keep a guy you don't know and haven't coached with on the roster. We'd really need you to have the defense run by somebody you don't have a relationship with. If I'm an offensive-minded head coach, the defensive coordinator has to be my best friend because I'm going to trust him with half of the game plan. And I'm the head coach. It's going to go on my record, right? My head coaching win-loss record is going to have 50% hinging on a defense put together by whoever the defensive coordinator is. I need to trust that guy with my life. And it's not going to be somebody that Tepper's like, he did good last year, you have to keep him. Fine. What does he like to do? How does he like to be communicated with? If I need him to change something because it's my show, I'm the head coach, how do I communicate that with him? Does he somebody that needs 2 compliments and a criticism? Do I have to say, listen, love what you're doing. That call on 3rd down was unbelievable. Didn't see it coming. How you're handling the red zone is fantastic. But I'd like to see more pressure on 1st. Or is he somebody I can walk in and say, what the heck are you doing on first down, man? Get after the quarterback. How does he need to be talked to? Oh, I'm going to figure all that out while I'm putting together a plan to get Bryce Young back up to speed with his development, to putting a plan together for the draft to get as much as we can out of the limited number of picks we have. I'm going to put together a plan for the offense to get Miles Sanders back to where he was, figure out how to put together an offensive line that can protect my young quarterback, all while being the head coach. It's not fair to Evero. I get it. He did his job. You brought him in to run a defense. Their defense is playing well. He did his job. In a perfect world, everybody that does their job well will have unlimited job security. If you're showing up, putting in the work, getting the results, being a good coach, your job will be secure forever. Unfortunately, that's not how life works. David Tepper, the next head coach, if the GM is Scott Fitter, which I don't think it will be, whoever the next GM is, you can't worry about being fair to everyone in the building. You have to worry about what's best for the Carolina Panthers.
What's best for business.
And part of that is letting a head coach be a head coach. There's a line. Have you ever watched a West Wing? I don't know why. The references come from all different kinds of places when Graham's on the show.
I love it, though.
There's a line. I didn't even realize this happened. I don't even know if it actually happens, right? It's a TV show, so maybe this does or doesn't. But like during the State of the Union, and by the way, I'm not getting political. It's a TV show. When like the president and all of the cabinet members and all of Congress and the Senate are going to be in one room, they have like a designated person that goes somewhere else in case like a catastrophe happens. You know, the Secretary of Agriculture or whatever, someone they pick will be, in a building way on the other side of D.C., and they'll be the acting president if the catastrophe happens to the room where everybody is. And the president in the show looks at this person who they're designating to go somewhere else, and he's like, well, what would you do in this situation, right, if you're the guy? And he says, well, the president gives this person advice, right? If catastrophe happens and you have to be the president of the United States, here's the piece of advice I give. All right. He said, do you have a best friend? He said, yes. He said, is he way smarter than you? He chuckled and said, yes. He said, that's your chief of staff, right? That's your number two. That's the person you're going to be depending on most. If I'm an offensive-minded head coach, I need to have a best friend who's smarter than me and loves defense, and that's who I'm making my defensive coordinator. And that person is almost guaranteed not to be Evero for whoever the next head coach is. If it is, perfect, right? Then you're lucky as heck. If you just bring in somebody and you're like, who are you thinking for defensive coordinator? And they're like, well, for a big portion of my career, I was on the staff with this guy, Evero. And they're like, perfect, he's already here. Call him up. That would be a weird form of coincidence. If that's the case, everybody wins. But you have to let the head coach make that decision. Have to. And that goes, I don't care if they post 3 shutouts to end the season. It would make it a more difficult decision. Maybe that would make it so Evero would be the head coach, right? You could do that. But as far as mandating or suggesting to your next head coach who his second most important coach on his roster will be, I hate it, right? You need loyal, for lack of a better metaphor, soldiers serving on your staff so you can guarantee that person's not running around you to the owner to talk trash about how you're running the team. That setup is partially what undid the Panthers this season. Don't set yourself up to do it again. That's a problem.